Hello everybody, welcome to another video. Today I will be unboxing the Steam Deck 256GB LCD version, and I will show you how to unbrick the Steam Deck. My Steam Deck was basically bricked from the factory, and I will show it to you later in the video how it was bricked. So here we are unboxing the LCD version of the Steam Deck. This box is the main box where it will be shipped in, and here you can see the different serial numbers and stuff for this specific deck. Here you can see some other things, and you can see that it comes with the power supply. And now we are opening the main box. Here you can see there is some kind of big card inside the box, basically telling you to plug in the Steam Deck and then trying to turn it on. I guess it's there because they think that some of these decks may have run out of power in shipping, so it's a good idea to plug it into the power and then turn it on. And on the other side there is some kind of information about the SD card slot and the other buttons. So yeah, let's remove the card here and continue with the unboxing. So here you can see you get the Steam Deck main box, and then the smaller white box here is the box for the power supply. And this should be a 45W power supply, and it's with the USB-C connector, so you can also charge your Steam Deck with a normal power bank. If you have a power delivery power bank, it is going to be better because it can charge it up faster. Now we got the box open, and here you can see there's also the manual for the Steam Deck inside the power supply box. So yeah, it's good to know that it's there. And yeah, you can see there is all the same stuff in the Steam Deck manual in different languages. So first we have the English, and then let's see what's the other language. Here you can see the different radio frequency bands that the Steam Deck wireless operates at, and that is basically the whole manual. It's not that big, and then you have French, Italy, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Russian, all the other languages, and that's basically the manual there, and there's some barcode for the manual if you want to look it up. And here's the actual power supply. On this LCD version, the sides of the power supplies are basically unmarked, but on the OLED version there is a cool Steam logo marked on the sides of the power supply walls. So that's a nice little decal on the OLED version, but it's absent on this version. Also, the power supply cord length is, I think, 1 meter bigger on the OLED version. Here you can see the different specs of the power supply input voltages. It can take 100 volts and 240 volts, so it should work anywhere. And the output, you can see at 5 volts you get 15 watts, but with bigger voltages you get the full 45 watts, so it can do power delivery. And now we will be moving the main box aside, and here we have the Steam Deck itself still in its plastic bag. It has this kind of cool color shifting thing on the text. That's pretty nice. the OLED version has the same kind of color shifting thing on the screen, so on the screen graphic of the thing here, so it's much bigger, but basically the same. And here is some kind of QR code for instructions and other markings. And here's some other requirements and notices and warnings in different languages. And here again is here you have the same barcodes and serial numbers that were on the main box itself. So these things should coincide with the main box markings. And here is the Steam Deck carry case that you get. On this LCD version there is that kind of white Steam logo. It is white and orange on the OLED, so it's a kind of different one. And here we have the security tag. The security tag is the same on the LCD and OLED version, so it's no different. And on the back side here you have this kind of space behind the carrying case. And yeah, let's open up the security tag. Also the pull tabs on the carrying case are black here, but on the OLED version they have white overmold on them, so they're a bit easier to grab and they're a little bit bigger too. And here you can see the LCD version of the Steam Deck for the first time. The joysticks on the LCD version are white, as you can see, and on the OLED version they are completely black. Also the grips of the joysticks are not as good. On the LCD version you can get a better grip with your thumbs on the OLED version, but the LCD version is still pretty serviceable, so it still works, even though it's not as good. The buttons are basically the same, the trackpad is the same. The display is a bit different, it's only 7 inches and on the OLED version it's 7.4 inches, so it's a little bit bigger display. But the 7 inches is fine too, and here you can see the micro SD card slot. And here are the different triggers. You have also these backside triggers. They are pretty useful in different tasks. Also your volume buttons and the power button. The power button is actually orange on the OLED version, so that's also another small difference between these two versions. And here you can see a QR code for this model, and you can also see the model number and different FCC and other markings. And yeah, let's now try to turn it on. And as you can hear, I'm clicking the button here, but it is not turning on. So it seems that the battery has already died during the shipping or manufacturing process. So maybe this Steam Deck is a bit old, even though it's new. So I have to plug it into the charger. Just like the card said when we were unboxing the deck. So now with the Steam Deck in charging, when we press the power button it actually turns on. That's good. and this first boot takes a bit of time. Here you can see the different languages that you have, English and other things. So there's many languages you can choose from, and I will be going with the English. And there's also a lot of different time zones, so you should find a time zone for you wherever you live, basically. Here I'm setting up the Steam Deck Wi-Fi settings, and I'm not showing you the passwords and stuff like that. But now after setting up the Wi-Fi connection, the Steam Deck is starting the first boot up and the first update. And if you cannot do the first update on the Steam Deck after connecting the Wi-Fi, you effectively cannot use the Steam Deck, and it is effectively bricked at that point. So here I'm again accessing the Wi-Fi settings, and here is like the first time I'm trying to do the first update, and you can see it is taking a long time. It is still progressing, which is good, but it is going to fail. You will see shortly after the progress bar gets to the end. It is going to fail the update. And there it went. It failed the update and it started it again. And it didn't matter how many times I tried. It would either get stuck completely or it would start the update again when it got to the end of the progress bar. Even I tried changing different Wi-Fi bands. I tried 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz. I also switched Wi-Fi networks completely to mobile hotspot and other Wi-Fi hotspots and connections, and it wouldn't work. So the one thing that I came up with was just completely reflashing the Steam OS system, and that ended up working in this case. But here you will see me trying to get the thing to work, but it just isn't working. Again setting up the Wi-Fi and again trying to update, but at the end of the day you will see it is not going to update the system. And shortly I will be showing you how to install the Steam OS on a USB or Sata SSD. But I will highly recommend Sata. The USB stick is really slow and you cannot use it. And you will see why in a minute. So here I'm showing you how to install the Steam OS recovery image on your USB stick or Sata SSD, and I highly recommend you installing it on Sata SSD RAM and NVMe SSD. So here you have to first download it from this link. I have already downloaded the file, so I'm not gonna download it again. And after you have downloaded this file, I will show you. You have to then install Rufus or Balena Etcher or some other imaging application. I will use the Balena Etcher, it's pretty good. And then you have to go and select your image file that you just downloaded. So here I will select the file. And now you have to select target. And my target device is the Sata SSD that I'm going to be using. And then you just select and flash. And then the program will start flashing the image file to the SSD or USB device, whatever you chose. And for me this thing took about 20 minutes. It can take longer or shorter time depending on the speed of your computer and the device you're trying to flash it to. Now the flash is complete, and here this thing has been sped up a lot. I'm trying to the first time I installed the recovery image on a USB drive. So here you can see I'm trying to boot up the recovery image from the USB drive, and this whole thing took over 45 minutes. It sped up a lot, and even after 45 minutes, all I was left with was basically a black screen on the Steam Deck and nothing else. And even after I stopped filming, after an hour or so, it wouldn't go any further. It would still be in the black screen. So I just ended up stopping the whole thing. Maybe eventually it would have gotten through, but I didn't have that much time to wait. So I just unplugged the whole thing and went and installed the recovery image on the SSD. And here you can see actually a speed test. The first numbers here, 250 something, that's the speed of the SSD, and the second speed test is the speed of the USB drive. So you can see the USB drive is so much slower. It is way slower, like 10 times slower. So it kind of makes sense that the USB drive takes ages to boot up to the recovery image. So I will highly recommend using the Sata SSD or NVMe SSD. And here I was just in the BIOS. You have to press the power button and the plus button at the same time to get to the BIOS. And this thing has been sped up a little bit, not too much, and it takes like a few minutes to get to this section in the live OS on the USB drive or the SATA, whatever you chose. So you are presented with 4 different options. Here you can clear local user data, repair SteamOS install, do something in the terminal with the report tool, so wipe the device and install OS. And I chose to do the wipe the device and install SteamOS. It completely wipes the device and completely installs the SteamOS again. So this should always work if your device is bricked in this way how mine was bricked, or in some other way if it's bricked, then you can use this thing and it should fix it. And this process is going to take, for me it took about 5 minutes or so. Again, this is highly dependent on the speed of your USB or SATA drive that you are booting up from. So take that into account. Also, here the screen went black because I wasn't refreshing, or I wasn't moving the mouse on the trackpad with my finger. So I highly recommend keeping the screen on. I had to push the power button once to get the screen to turn back on, but yeah, it's a good idea to move the cursor with your finger there. So the screen keeps on and doesn't turn off. And this is still going to take a little bit of time to complete, but when the process is complete, the program is going to let you know that it is complete and you can unplug the drive. So here the screen turned off again, but I was able to get it back on with the trackpad. And now it's almost done, and here it's done. It shows you action successful. Then you just have to press proceed, and then it will continue. Now you have installed the SteamOS completely again, so it is completely reformatted, and this device is in the original state. So this progress bar is basically the first boot again here. You can at this point you can just unplug your USB device that you use to format this Steam Deck. And this is going to take some time for the first boot up to go through. And now the system is about to start again. And it's the same thing again, you have to select your language, your time zone, and here the screen is blacked out. I'm putting in my Wi-Fi. And now, when you have the Wi-Fi connection, it will start the install process, do the first update. And this time, the first update actually goes through. It is successful on the first try, so that is good. And it is also pretty fast. It only took maybe 10 or 20 minutes, again depending on your Wi-Fi speed. And here you saw the login screen. Now you can use the QR code on your phone Steam app to log in, or you can put in your username and password like I did here. And then after you have done that, the Steam is loading your user data and the first setup is basically complete. So now the Steam Deck is going to go to the default view shortly, showing you your game library and everything. So here you can press any button or tap the screen to go through this first thing. It shows you where the micro SD card slot is and all the other cool functions. So this is the default view of the Steam Deck. So if you press the 3 dot buttons there, it brings up these quick settings and other cool things. You can change your display brightness and other things, audio levels. And if you press the Steam button, it brings up your home, library, store, all these other things and also settings and power. And here you can go to switch to desktop if you want. And the Steam Deck goes to a normal desktop mode. So in this desktop mode, your Steam Deck basically functions as a standalone Linux computer. So you can run terminal applications, any other applications like Firefox, whatever. You can install basically anything here that you can install on a Linux PC. So this desktop mode is actually really nice and useful. Here you can see the memory. It has like 16 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage.